Hello guys, this is Raj from iPro Games, and in this video we're gonna learn about primitives and materials in Unity. So without further ado, let's get started. So primitives are the default shapes, 3D shapes. I'm talking about 3D over here. 3D shapes available in Unity. So a cube, a sphere, a capsule, a cylinder, a plane. All these are primitives which are available in Unity by default. So let's see some of them. You can get a primitive in your game by going create 3D object, and there you get the options. These first 1 2 3 4 5 6, these 6 are primitives that are available in Unity. So when you click on cube, we'll get a cube in our scene, and currently you can see that yeah, the cube is looking having a grayish sort of color. And let us create some more primitives. You can also go right click 3D object, capsule, right click 3D object, sphere, right click 3D object, plane. That will create all the objects in your scene, and all these are types of primitives pre-available in Unity. So let me move them so that you can see them clearly. And so yeah, for now you will see that all these are having a similar grayish color, and this is because of their materials. So what essentially are materials in Unity? Materials in Unity give make the, they determine how a surface of an object in Unity will look like. You can see that they all look like they are made of some sort of grayish paper. So that's because of the materials, and a material in Unity determines how a surface of an object will look like, how will it feel, whether it will feel shiny, like rough. All those properties are determined by materials. So if you click on any object, first of all, you will see 1 2 3 4 components. And the first one over here, these components are created by default. So the first one is called transform. What this does is it holds all the coordinates of an object in the game, like its position, its rotation, and scale. That these are self-explanatory. The position is the place of the object in the scene, and then the rotation is if it is having any rotation, like I can edit the values over here. It is rotating, and you can just go right click and reset if you have messed up anything. So we'll bring it in the center. So and next you'll find a cube mesh filter and a mesh renderer. What this mesh renderer does, it is responsible for whatever is visible to us, whatever we are able to see of the object. Like we are able to see this grayish color things, like these shapes. It's all because whatever we are seeing is because of the mesh renderer. If I disable this object, you won't see anything. This is just the collider. And if I enable it, and then you can see it. So the visibility of an object, whatever it's looking like, is controlled by the mesh renderer component. So you will see that it's having a materials drop down. So here the materials which the object has are contained. For now you can see that it is having one material, and that is the default material. And you can always add more than one materials to an object. And so if I do size 2, you'll have 2 materials. So for now does not support it, because it's having only one mesh. One mesh, it's having only one mesh. But I'll do a separate video on how you can add more than one materials, and like textures to your objects. So for now it's having one material. It's called the default material, and when you create an object, it's created automatically. So if I click on it, I get it. So here it's the material. So for now we don't want things to look so dull, so we'll create our own materials over here. So let's go right click, create, and we should create a folder for materials. Let's name it materials. Yeah, good. So let's open it, and we can go right click, create, and find material, and we should name it primitive, because we are going to put it on primitives. Yeah, good. So if you can just drag it on an object in the scene view to get the put the material on it, or you can take it and put it to the on the object in the hierarchy. So if you want to know about all the windows on Unity, I have given a basic intro in the previous video. Go and have a look at it. So I can put the material on an object. Let's say I put it on the plane. So if you don't see any changes, but if I click on the plane and you go on the mesh renderer component and you go into the materials drop down, you see that it's having the primitives material. So now you can see that if I change okay, I'll explain what are the properties present in the material. So first you see the name of the material, then there's a shader. What the shader does, it you can it's how the material is rendered. Those things are decided by the shader. So like if you choose FX, it's for lights. If you choose GUI, it's for text. If you choose mobile, it's for mobile devices, ideal rendering for mobile devices. Then it's nature, like terrain, leaves, trees, water, etc. Then particles, like sparks, all those things. Skybox is like what you're seeing behind over here. So this horizon, all these things, this is called the skybox. You know what's in the sky. That thing is skybox. And then sprites, this is for 2D. UI, user interface. Unlit, if you don't want it to interact with any light. Then VR, virtual reality. Legacy shaders, these are old shaders and not supported. You can understand that. So if we go on the material, and the first property after shader we are having, it's called the rendering mode. So it is having 4 options: opaque, cutout, fade, and transparent. Opaque itself is self-explanatory. Next is cutout. If you have seen grass in any game, it's actually not, the mesh is not designed in that way that it will look like grass. There is no so much detail in the actual real geometry that it will look like grass. It's actually the texture and what is there, that like the parts which are colored, they are totally opaque, and the parts which are not colored, they are totally transparent. So it's like a cutout. There's a hard difference between what is transparent and what is opaque. So that can be used to make like leaves and grass and etc. So that's there you can use cutout. Fade is like you can think of like holograms. There you can use fade in the rendering mode. Then transparent, like if you want the thing to be looking like real world transparent things like glass and mirrors. If you choose cut out, then they will be totally gone. They'll not interact with light. Like you can notice that if you place a glass in front of you, you can still make out that there's something, but if you choose cut out, there will be absolutely nothing. So transparent is like for in real life, you can know that whether there is something existing or not. Then albedo, it's actually the base color of an object. If I change it, you can see that the plane is changing color. Now I don't have any light in the scene, but I'll add one. You can go right click, you light, and I'll add a directional light. You can see that it's all lighted up, and yeah, I can rotate it. It's actually acting, directional lights act like a sun. I'll make a separate video on lights in Unity. So for now you can see that the plane is red now. I can go in the materials and I can increase the alpha, but it will not work because you have set the rendering mode to opaque. If I choose transparent, and then I can go and increase the alpha, and this is actually the opacity of the object. For now we'll choose opaque. And next we are having the metallic and smoothness. So what the metallic does is like it determines how specular your material is. Like if you increase it, it looks more like a metal or a glass. It's having more sheen on it. So that's what metallic property determines. And then we have the smoothness. You can see that it reflects light more clearly if we have it more smooth. And then we have a normal map. What a normal map is like, it gives fake detail to your mesh. So like you're having like some sort of a brick wall, and if you want it to look real, then you'll have to then you have to model the geometry in that way that it's having some bumps, it's having some depressions. So and but what the normal map does, it fakes that geometry. So it will if we take a texture of a brick and and we convert it into a normal map. I'll make a video, separate video on maps, normal maps, height maps. And so there, then if you place on it, it fakes the geometry and it gives a visual effect that it is having real bumps and real detail. So then we are having the height map. It is like, it gives like some things are coming in the view and blocking others from view. Like if you have some stones, and like it's actually you put a flat plane and you put a normal map on it, and you put a texture like it's having some rocks. And if you put a height map, what you'll see that the bigger stones are blocking the smaller stones behind it. So like if I have this, and if I have some rocks over here, and if I have a normal map, then I can see that the rocks are looking real. They are having, like, they are lifted up from the surface. But if I put a height map, I'll see that they're protruding out from the surface and they're hiding the rocks behind them. So that's what a height map does. Occlusion is like how you want indirect lighting to act with your model. Like you can put an occlusion map over here, and then you can see that some parts of your model where indirect lighting will not reach, and some parts there will be. Like in real world, if there is a nook or corner there, it's almost pitch black, you don't get light over there. So, and a detailed mask is like whether you want to apply like if you take the example of a human skin, and if you want some acne, you want to put a texture of an acne on the face, and you want to avoid the eyeballs, you want to avoid the hairs, so you put a mask over here. Like you want to avoid those places where there are hairs, there are eyes. So next we are having emission. So what emission does is, like, it's self-explanatory, that it will add some sort of a glow to your object. So if now it's not having anything, you can put a map over here too. Like if I put like two eyes over here, and I put a map of the two eyes, and then I add glow, those eyes will glow specifically. But now if I add a tint, and I increase the intensity, you have the intensity slider over here, and that will increase how much glow is there. So that's what. And it's HDR mode, so there you can slide the intensity, and there is a color slider over here. So yeah. And next we have global illumination. So what is this? Is like, you want real-time lighting or you want baked lighting. So real-time is like whatever objects are there, if there are dynamic objects and they are moving, and then also this light will affect those objects. And if you have chosen the baked option, then what will happen is that the objects which are marked as static, I'll explain lighting in a separate video, so stay tuned. And the objects which are marked as static will only interact with the light, and those which are dynamic will not. So if baked is more efficient, but for small scale projects, real time will be helpful. And tiling is there for if you put some texture in it, and if I put a like a grass texture, and I wanted to, and it was a small texture like this much, and it got scaled up to this much, and it's looking all distorted. So I can add tiling over here that will divide it into parts on this plane, and that will make it look more realistic. Then we have secondary maps. You put a secondary maps over here. If you take the example of the human skin again. If you have a plane and you want to I put a texture on it, I put a normal map on it to make the nose, the cheeks, the lips visible, and then I can put another normal map on top of it to make the acne visible. And then we have the tiling and offset for in those also. Offset is like how much you want the map to move. Like I can if I put the map and I increase the x offset, it will move on the x-axis. The map will move away on the x-axis on the object. Like if I want to shift the map a bit, that will help. And then we are having specular highlights. Specular highlights, it's like whether I will, if we have a light over here, and like you can understand what's specular. So it's like how much gloss your object is having. So if you want that, this option is taken normally, but if you don't want it, and you shouldn't mess with these are correct, and if you know what you're doing, then go ahead. But specular highlights are determine whether you want your object to have gloss on it. And then reflections, they are self-explanatory. Whether you want it to have reflections, they won't be as sharp in a standard shader. If you don't have metallic and smoothness, they will look like they are blur. Next we are having double-sided. These are advanced options, and I'll be explaining them in another video. So these were the basics of primitives and materials in Unity. If you guys like the video, please like, share and subscribe, and tell us how you felt, and how was your experience in the comment section. And stay tuned, and in next video we will be explaining colliders and the physics system, like not in detail, but the basics of the physics system, what are rigid bodies and etc. So stay tuned. Thank you very much.